Okay. I've never had anybody say, let's take a 15-minute break. All right. Dry cured hams of the world. This is a fun one. And I will say, I'll preference this by saying, a lot of people ask me, where can I get these hams? Where can I get these hams? Liquor Barn here in Lexington has a few of them. And then there's a place up in Cincinnati called Jungle Gyms that you can find some of these as well. Now, with that in mind, be prepared of sticker shock. Okay? Some of them are pretty expensive. All right? But we here in the Southeast have embraced the country ham as part of our heritage. To me, you can go through each state in the Union, and each state in the Union has a food that they do better than anybody else. For example, I grew up in Central Illinois. And in Central Illinois, this floor is not as flat as Central Illinois is. All right? And so when I grew up, it wasn't until I was in grad school at Missouri that when I drove somewhere, I didn't pass corn and bean fields. Okay, so that was in my mid-20s. And so in Illinois, we were good at making sweet corn, raising sweet corn. That became kind of the thing that Illinois was known for, was making good sweet corn. If I go to Indiana, I think of cantaloupes or muskmelons. If I go down to Memphis, it's barbecue, that kind of stuff. And so each region of the country has something they're good at. And here in the Southeast, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, we tend to be more into the country ham.
Is this the senior topic?
This is the senior topic, you bet. Yeah. I'm just like Paul Harvey. You got to keep up. I can move from one topic to the next. You have no idea who Paul Harvey is, do you? No, ask your parents. Yeah. I remember one time when I was teaching class around Halloween, and I said about, Casey Kasem being the original voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo, and a girl raised her hand and said, "Who's Casey Kasem?" But I'm old. Yeah.
What is the age break between the junior and senior?
I forget. I want to say 13 or so. Your agent will know. Yeah. So we started doing it by years, and I've got it on the contracts. If you go back to your contract, it'll have, if you were born in this year, okay, this is what your topic is, type thing. So good question. And reasonably I say I don't know that, because the agents deal with that. It's one of those things that sadly it's just, I have other things to remember, that kind of stuff. So, but the Southeast, we've embraced the country ham as part of our food culture, so to speak. And part of it is because we're in what's called the ham belt. Now, back in the 1800s, country hams were made everywhere, but they seem to be done really well here in the Southeast with the ham belt. And the ham belt is just like the corn belt and the bread basket and the Bible belt. These are regions of the world where the climates are conducive to making high quality products. And so for us in the ham belt, these are regions throughout the world where we have mild winters, we have a gradual go into spring, and we have hot, humid summers. All right? If you have a winter that's too cold, then make good hams. If you have a hot summer that's not humid, you're just making big rocks, so to speak. And so our climate is very conducive to this kind of stuff. And so here in the U.S., that tends to be the Southeast. Even though years ago it was made all over the country, but the higher quality ones came here in the Southeast. Central and Southern Europe have climates that are very conducive as well, and believe it or not, China. A lot of our foods come from China. They're Chinese origin, and sometimes they're picked up, especially by the Italians, and perfected, and then sent out to the rest of the world. For example, pizza. We typically think of an Italian thing. It was actually kind of a Chinese thing that the Italians picked up and perfected, so to speak. But these are regions of the country that are very, very conducive to this kind of stuff. And if you look here at all these red dots represent places that cure country hams. You can see they're very concentrated within this area right here. Now, you look up here, here's one in Toronto. That's a prosciutto place that uses an artificial environment. This is Penn State University, Ohio State University, Iowa State University. Some of the universities do them as well, but University of Arkansas, Mississippi State, so on. So some of those dots that are kind of outside of it are usually universities do it, but for the vast majority of the professional guys are right here in the Southeast. And if you look at Kentucky, have several of them. Finchville here at the Meats Lab, Penn's Country Hams, Clifty Farms, which is also goes into Tennessee as well, Scott's, Father's, Meacham's, Harper's, and Broadbent's. Okay? Those are our big professional cures throughout the state. Now we are adding, and I haven't put them on there, we've got what I call the artistic or the artisanal type ham cures. There's a gentleman in Louisville who does a very artistic type ham, very artisanal ham. That is, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But I work for UK, but I don't make Coach Cal money. So whatever he gives me is what I have. But there's a lot of those artisanal type places going on as well. There's over 35 national country ham cures. They cure about 10% of the supply. The top ones, Smithfield in North Carolina, Burgers and Burgers Ozark Country Cured Hams in Missouri, which is kind of really neat. They are right off the highway that leads straight into Lake of the Ozarks. And so they get a lot of traffic there if folks are going down to Lake of the Ozarks. And then Clifty Farms. Now, let's take a little trip. All right? Germany. Germany's a neat place. I'll show you some pictures. I was at a conference back in October in Germany. But Germany makes two hams that they're really known for. The Westphalian ham and the Black Forest ham. Now, I realize you can get Black Forest hams about anywhere. However, a true Black Forest ham must come from the Black Forest region of Germany. And it has to be cured in the way that they've designated to be. And so down here, this is a picture of a true Black Forest ham, not the commercialized versions we have. In fact, in Europe, if it says Black Forest ham, it has strict definition. Okay, we don't go by European law, so that's why we have other Black Forest hams. But the true Black Forest hams down here, it's blackened in color. Okay, it's because of the smoking. The Westphalian hams, again, go by that whole concept. Must come from the Westphalian forest or the Westphalian region of Germany. Those pigs, you're going to see this kind of commonplace here. Pigs fed a certain thing. Animals will taste a lot like what they've been consuming. And so here are pigs that are fed acorns. It's going to give them their fat a different flavor. And what's kind of unique about them is the fat's different than how they smoke them. They're going to smoke them over beechwood and juniper branches. Okay, beechwood, as some might remember, is added to beer to create Budweiser, beechwood age, and so there's a lot of that in Germany. Black Forest hams, they get that black color. They're typically dipped in beef blood before they're smoked over beechwood as well, and it helps give them that black color. I have had both. I will say one thing: the Black Forest ham is my favorite. If you like a very heavy smoke flavor, that's your guy. Really good. That's the German hams. And it's kind of neat because Europeans take their pork and they take their hams really seriously. And for example, back in October, I attended a conference in Berlin. And it was a very memorable trip, mainly because we were there for 8 days and our luggage got there on day 5. I now know my German size for pants and shirts and socks, and I know all that stuff. You know, I still have toothpaste and toothbrush that are in German and everything else. But we went into this one store to get clothes because ours was somewhere. I think our luggage had a better trip than we did. But walked in there, and it was just a department store, like walking into J.C. Penney's. But they had this huge display of hams. All these are Westphalian hams. Okay. And then, because it's Europe and the countries are small, you're going to see other countries' hams as well. And we'll talk about this guy. This is a Serrano ham. And that was there in this store as well. And then you could buy slices off of it and stuff like that. What I thought was neat is the reason why I threw this up here in that German store was it came in this carrying case. So you can just pick it like a suitcase, carry it around. I need to move here. This is kind of cool, you know. So, but nonetheless, you know, Europeans, they take that kind of serious. Now, I will say one thing: you can go up to Jungle Jim's up in Cincinnati, and I have seen the Westphalian and the Black Forest hams up there. At Liquor Barn here in Lexington, you can find the prosciuttos. And these guys come from Italy. There's two main types of prosciuttos, the prosciutto di Parma and the prosciutto San Daniele. I've never seen the San Daniele. The Parma you see a lot of places. And the Parma hams are very, very, very protected. They have a definition of standards that they're supposed to meet before they earn the name Parma. There's a certain pig they're supposed to use before they earn the name Parma. They're aged and cured a certain way before they earn the name Parma. And so much so that once they meet that, they get branded with what's called the 5-point ducal crown. And that crown stays with that ham throughout the entire process. They're even so strict that the Liquor Barn, if they order whole hams, they're not allowed to slice them and still maintain that identity. So they have to be sliced and packaged in Italy to maintain that ducal crown. So they're very, very strict on that kind of stuff. But these are, here we go, a Yorkshire pig fed grain, parsnips, and the whey from Parmesan Cheese Factory. So it's going to give that fat a different flavor, and that fat's going to dictate a lot of where flavor comes from. And if you notice in Parma hams, if you're just inspired by this, which I hope you are, and they have them at the Liquor Barn, you'll notice they're very flat and oval shaped. And the reason they do that is they remove the H-bone, which the H-bone is the pelvic girdle. You can see in the pictures the head of the femur, the ball of the femur sticking out because they remove that. That allows those hams to kind of rest and get that oval shaped, okay? And they're usually flat, and they usually put weights on them to flatten them down around 2 inches or so. So that's the prosciutto di Parma ham. Now, Italy makes another one that I have tried, never seen in the U.S., although I have read that they are cleared for import. And this is called the Culatello ham. This is another one of those Italian hams. This is kind of a combination of wet and dry curing, okay? The Black Forest ham in Germany is a combination of wet and dry curing as well. And here's another one of those cured with salt, pepper, garlic, and dry wine. Italians are very proud of their wine, and so they try to incorporate it as much as they can. The Culatello hams, there's not very many cures for that. They're very labor-intensive hams. But the one I've had, they're kind of a mild-tasting ham. You can pick up a little bit of the wine in there, but they're pretty good hams as well. We've tried to make them here and just fail miserably. We probably ought to try that one more time. But the Culatello hams, they're kind of unique. You can see the way they tie them up to get these kind of balloon effects, so to speak. They're boneless. And everything is sliced extremely thin, so almost read a newspaper through it. Okay, that's very common for hams, is to slice them extremely thin. And they're usually made in the mountains, and they let the mountain air come in, and that's part of the process. Yeah.
Do they change the rope out, or do we change the stocks?
No, they don't. They're not as aged as long as ours. They're only aged for a few months, whereas ours are made for several months. So, but no. Good question, though. I don't know if I'm sure the ropes come pre-made like that, but if not, that's quite the handiwork to do that kind of stuff, or the netting, if you will, on that. So those are the Culatello hams. You can probably go online and read more about them or look at them. Spain, traveling to Spain. Spain's got a fun one. The Iberian ham, okay? And the level that you see here is called the Iberian Balata, this guy right here. This is a genetically pure breed of pig called the Iberian pig. It's very characteristic by the black toenail. The Serrano ham that we had in the previous couple slides had a white toenail. Okay? The Serrano ham, which is very, very good, is considered a common ham in Spain. This guy right here, about 5 or 6 years ago, got cleared to come into the U.S. Okay? And he came in the U.S., and what's unique about this guy is it's a very genetically pure breed of pigs. They're fed nothing but acorns. They're aged for a long period of time. They're cured with the whole leg on there. That's part of the nomenclature of it as well. But these guys are pretty high dollar. Some of these whole hams go up to around $1,300. When I was teaching this to my college students last year, this is the advent of cell phones and smartphones are kind of interesting. They actually, a couple of the kids got online, found some at Amazon. I think an ounce or 2 ounces was going for $15 to $25. Okay, so they're high. And I will say one thing: they're extremely good, extremely good. Okay, I was able to kind of MC an evening with pork night, and they had one of these guys, and it's, I'm not for sure if you'll see the face of God, but you'll hear some angels humming. There's no doubt about that. Now, what they call their common ham in Spain, which is still a very, very tasty ham, is the Serrano. Not as old. Okay, this guy's, the Iberian's gone for 24 months. This is 18 months old, but they consider very common ham over there in Spain. So the Spanish hams are really, really good. And so, like I said, the Europeans take their pigs pretty seriously. So does China. China is very pork-centric as well. And they have two hams. I have to confess, I've never had either of these hams. However, one of my colleagues is Chinese. He's our senior meat scientist here at UK. And he has threatened to take me in October to China. And this is the one thing I'm going to try to find is either the Jinhua or the Yunnan ham. Now, he tells me the Jinhua is pretty common there, and he's had it. He enjoys it, but it's named for the city that it is produced in. What's unique about this guy is this. Again, this city's been doing this for almost 1,000 years. They're sun-dried. So it's where we kind of have our hams in a ham house. Theirs is out in the open. And so when it gives sun-dried, it gives a very nice kind of deep cherry red type color to it that he says is wonderful. Now, even for Dr. Zhang, he tells me he's never had a Yunnan ham. That's kind of hard to see in the slide, but from the very far western corner of China. And he said even in China, they're very rare as well. And so here's a Jinhua ham here, and I found a picture on the internet of the Yunnan ham. Even he said he's never had a Yunnan ham. So Chinese, very pork-centric society. They tend to invent a lot of things, and this is one of the things. So you could probably say that from a food standpoint, this is probably where the country ham originated there in China. Is France known for its culinary power? Yeah. So it makes sense that the French have a ham as well. Again, the Bayonne ham. Going to dry cure it, but they're going to also utilize wine in the cleaning and the soaking of it as well. And so the wine cure is something you see a lot. Slightly smoked, air dried, much like the Jinhua ham. But what makes them kind of unique is they maintain a very moist flavor and texture and mouthfeel. And the way they do that, you can kind of see on this ham, though, so it looks like it's got sand on it. They'll take fat and flour mixed together and spread over that ham so he doesn't lose as much moisture. Okay? I've never had a Bayonne ham before. Folks that have had said they're really good. We have experimented with doing that downstairs, and you do create whereas our country hams tend to be, they're moist, but they tend to be a little bit drier. These guys are very, very moist. And they're kind of the same premise as ours, 9 to 10 months old. England, which is kind of interesting, is England's really not known as a culinary powerhouse as far as countries, But they do have their own ham called the York ham. And the York ham, again, you're going to see, like we've seen earlier, using large white pigs, which are, kind of known as Yorkshires over here. And they must be keeping this regional identity, so to speak. They must come from that within 2 miles of York, England. Okay, smoked over oak chips, which is something unique. We don't normally smoke anything over oak because oak's so expensive and used for furniture. But there in England, they'll smoke them over oak chips. You'll also see them use kind of a meal to put on top of them as well as part of the presentation of it. You can see even there, half pound, $30 a half pound. Okay, which is still cheaper than Keurig coffee cups. Anybody see that article where somebody calculated the Keurig coffee that everybody uses now is like $60 to $70 a pound? So, yeah, I'm guilty of it as well. So, but to be honest with you, this picture is probably about 5 or 6 years old, so those prices are probably even higher than that. We'll conclude with this whole concept of dry curing. These are some pictures that was sent to me from a colleague that went to the Terra Madre conference in Italy, and they were curing everything. Somebody, it's a big kind of foodie event over there, dry curing a lot of things. Here's a whole hind leg. Here's the whole front half of a pig that's cured. So much so they just gutted the pig, split him, and cured him because you see teeth. So, and with that, any questions? Yeah.
Why did they leave the teeth in it?
Just for conversation's sake. Be honest with you, nobody's going to eat the teeth. You never know.
When is the steak this year?
August, what did I do with my phone? It's a little bit later this year, which is fine by me, to be honest with you. Let me see here. Have phone, will travel, right? I want to say starting on is it the 20th? Does that sound about right, folks? Help me out. Yeah, starting on the 20th. Yeah, State Fair.
That sounded like it was going to be the demonstration day for this.
What's that? I'm sorry?
That sounded like it was going to be the 20th was going to be the demonstration day for the hams as well. Is that how it works?
Demonstration day.
Online in the book that we had.
Oh yeah. See, yeah. Well, your hams will be up there on Wednesday and they'll be judged on the 20th, Thursday. So yeah. Other questions you have? No, shut up so we can leave.
Is it on a Thursday?
Yep. We're always opening day of the fair. And by the time that Thursday is over with, I have probably walked back and forth between Cloverville and the South Wing, I bet 30 times. And every year I try to find a shorter route. Straight line is the best way. I tried to talk them into giving me a golf cart one year, but they said no. So, other questions? No? All right. Well, thanks for coming by this morning, folks. I told you it was going to be painless in about an hour. So.